Chapter 858 Suspicious Person. Everyone pledged their loyalty, saying that they would not tell Jeang about the secret. Che Haicheng asked Aizaman, "Mr. Aizaman, now you can tell me what you have found." Aizaman crossed his arms and said very coldly, "It's not a complicated thing. It's just that you were all starving to death, so you didn't care about other things. During the 3rd month on the island, there was a period of time when we couldn't find any food, and everyone huddled in the camp all day waiting to die. So many people told their secrets and shared interesting things. At that time, Li Zhongyu once told the way he obtained that special power. These words made everyone fall into memories. But at that time, most people didn't have the energy to listen to the interesting stories that Li Zhongyu was trying to tell. Not everyone remembered it clearly. He once got a yellow stone somewhere on Qingdao. And it was that stone that gave him special powers. Think about it carefully. What is the biggest difference between Li Zhongyu and us? It's the power he has. So, I suspect that that kind of power is the real purpose of the force to which the owner of this ship belongs. These words were like a revelation, making everyone suddenly realize the crux of the problem. In other words, except for Li Zhongyu, other people are of no value to them at all, right? The captain doesn't care about our life or death. Maybe when the ship is in the middle of the ocean, he will throw us all into the sea if he is unhappy. Everyone has realized that this is the explanation closest to the truth. However, just by figuring out the truth, they cannot leave the ship. There is a vast ice sea all around, and leaving here means death, and they have no way to escape. Then don't we still have to wait to die? Who knows when that guy will go crazy and kill us all? Bai Mo covered his head and said painfully. Che Haicheng and others had gloomy faces. After knowing the truth, they were even more desperate. Because they had been with Li Zhongyu for half a year, Jeang Yi would definitely not let them leave. Even if they went to Huaxu country, they would definitely be placed under house arrest. By then, they would all be strangers and would definitely become slaves. Life or death really depends on the master's mood. Thinking about this ending makes them shudder. What should we do? Do we have to face a sad ending? Che Haicheng said with difficulty. Xie Yunfan regretted it at this time. He shouldn't have mixed with this group of people just now. He could rely on his Huaxu blood to lick Jeang Yi and be his dog. Even after going ashore, he could live a little better. Now, there's no way back. The pickpocket Rudolph was very open-minded. He laughed on the bed. Anyway, we're all going to die. Hey, that old guy. Why don't you let your wife come and accompany me? Che Haicheng was in no mood to pay attention to him. Bai Mo was talking to himself in fear, his face full of panic. Only Aizaman still had that expressionless look. He was just that kind of person who seemed to have no interest in anything. Perhaps because the end of the world was coming, he had long realized that as a human being, if he wanted to survive, he would inevitably encounter this kind of experience. Mr. Aizaman, since you have thought of this a long time ago, there must be a way to solve the problem, right? Aizaman glanced at him. No way. There must be. You must have a way, Mr. Aizaman. Che Haicheng suddenly grabbed Aizaman's arm and shook it hard. His eyes were red. No matter how great the hope is, as long as there is a possible way, we have to try it. Aizaman was a little annoyed by Che Haicheng, or maybe he really didn't want to be a dog in a foreign country. He stared at Che Haicheng and said impatiently, "If you can get me a communication device, then we may still have a way to leave here." He briefly explained his idea. From Yenlu Island to Huaxu country, you will pass through the waters of Neon country. Near there, Colombia's ocean fleet is stationed and patrolling. So, if we can get a communication device and then modify it with Aizaman's hands, we may have a chance to contact them. You mean, we pass this information to the ocean fleet and let them rescue us? Xie Yunfan's eyes slowly lit up. Bai Mo said sadly, "It's useless. Those guys are a bunch of shit. I have sent them countless distress signals, and they simply ignored our existence." Aizaman heard this and said calmly, "But the situation is different now. I think the ocean fleet will definitely be interested in anything that can make the people of Huaxu country take action." Bai Mo was stunned for a moment, then slowly raised his head and looked at him. The other people in the room looked at each other, and their eyes gradually showed excitement. This is indeed a method that can be tried. I can only tell you this. But our communication equipment has been confiscated long ago. Where can you get it? Even if it can be stolen, if someone finds out, I believe he may face the risk of death penalty. After Aizaman finished speaking, he lay on the bed and stopped talking. He is very smart and can think of a way, but he is not an executioner. But his method at least gives everyone hope. There will be a way. There must be a way. Che Haiqing murmured. On the other side of the Yenlu group in another room, that is, the room where Li Zhongyu, Zhang Weiwei, and Ma Wenjing are. They were also completely shocked by the killing in the lower cabin. The bodies were carried out one by one. The method of handling was also very simple and unpretentious, just throwing them directly from the deck into the sea. And the people in the cabin could hear the plop and plop sounds like dumplings. This made people feel a little scared, because this sound almost kept ringing from the beginning to the end. From this, we can imagine how many people died. There were some students in the cabin. All of them were junior high school students, not very old, and they were traveling with Li Zhongyu to Yenlu Island for a school break. Seeing this scene, they huddled together in fear, their faces pale. Zhang Weiwei was also worried, and whispered in a low voice, "It's terrible. All this is simply terrible." Ma Wenjing, who was on the bed opposite, heard this, but smiled faintly. Although he was a little shocked by the scene outside the window, he didn't look too excited. This kind of situation is something that can happen, but I didn't expect, he took a deep breath, that so many people would die. I thought that Mr. Jeang would take care of it. Chapter 859 Question. Li Zhongyu leaned against the iron frame of the bed, folded his arms, and looked worried. Everything that happened on the boat made him very uneasy. I have to go talk to Mr. Jeang. Zhang Weiwei held his arm, her eyes full of worry. Don't annoy him. Don't get too excited. Now we still need to rely on him to survive. She was worried that Li Zhongyu would do something stupid. After all, her husband was a man with a strong sense of justice. Li Zhongyu said, "Don't worry, I know what's going on. At least I have to know whether he is killing innocent people." Ma Wenjing looked at him and said, "I don't think you need to worry too much about this." Li Zhongyu and Zhang Weiwei looked at Ma Wenjing. They still respected this entrepreneur in their hearts. His character and wisdom were recognized by everyone on Yenlu Island. "Mr. Ma, what do you think about this?" Ma Wenjing said slowly. As the saying goes, in troubled times, severe punishment should be used. Now the biggest conflict on the ship is actually concentrated in the lower cabin. I think Mr. Zhang's approach is understandable, but it is a bit cruel. Let them solve it internally. But he is not a murderer. Ma Wenjing thought of everything that happened that day. Through the conversation between Zhu Yunque and Zhang Yi, he could vaguely understand the development of the matter. Maybe it has something to do with their internal conflicts. Li Zhongyu thought about this and thought that what Ma Wenjing said made sense. But he had to confirm it himself before he could rest assured.
Because all their lives depended on Zhang Yi.
So Li Zhongyu planned to go upstairs and talk to Zhang Yi. The people on the ship were still quite polite to Li Zhongyu. This was Zhang Yi's order, which gave Li Zhongyu a certain degree of freedom. Li Zhongyu just told the crew in charge of patrol that he wanted to see Zhang Yi, and someone immediately reported to Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi was not surprised to hear the report, as he knew that the people of the Yenlu group were scared to death. Although he had no idea about the Yenlu group, he still had to appease the people to avoid any trouble. So Zhang Yi asked someone to bring Li Zhongyu to him. Li Zhongyu was cautious and polite when he met Zhang Yi. After a few official greetings, he asked in a pretentious manner. Something seemed to have happened in the cabin below today. Can I ask what happened? Don't think too much. We are all scared to see so many people dead. First of all, I personally trust you very much and firmly support the decision of the organization. I just want to understand what happened so that I can give everyone an explanation to make them feel more at ease. Li Zhongyu's cautious appearance made Zhang Yi feel familiar. But this is also what he admired about Li Zhongyu. If this man had not been so cautious, it would have been difficult for him to survive on Yenlu Island for half a year with so many people from the Yenlu group. He explained calmly, nothing, because of the shortage of food. They killed each other. He looked at Li Zhongyu, raised his eyebrows slightly, and asked with a smile, "Do you think I asked people to clean up the lower cabin?" Li Zhongyu's expression was a little embarrassed, and he waved his hands and smiled. "No, no, no. How could we have such an idea?" However, Zhang Yi's explanation still made him feel relieved. Combined with what happened before, Li Zhongyu felt that what Zhang Yi said was basically true. With their ability, if they wanted to destroy those people, they didn't have to wait until now. Zhang Yi came over and patted him on the shoulder. "Don't think about it all day long. I will take you back to your homeland safely. But the premise is that you must cooperate with my work well." He stretched out his index finger and shook it in front of Li Zhongyu's eyes. "After you go back, comfort them well. I don't want unnecessary emotions to spread on the ship." Li Zhongyu secretly swallowed his saliva and nodded quickly. Just as the two were talking, someone carrying a corpse passed by. Li Zhongyu suddenly heard a weak cry for help. "Help! Save me!" He subconsciously looked to the side and saw two people in the lower cabin carrying a man covered in blood, leaning against the railing. Seeing that the man was not dead, the two people carrying him looked disgusted. "MD, he is not dead yet. Come on, 1, 2, 3, go." The two people had no intention of saving him at all, just pretending that they didn't hear it. In front of Zhang Yi and Li Zhongyu, they made a few preparatory moves and threw him into the vast icy sea. Zhang Yi glanced at the stunned Li Zhongyu and explained lightly, "He is the culprit who caused this riot. Damn it, don't you think?" Li Zhongyu nodded quickly. Yes. Damn it, he deserves to die." But the man's face was covered in blood, and Zhang Yi didn't even look at him. How could he be judged as the culprit of the riot? Perhaps that didn't matter. What mattered was that he was already dead. Li Zhongyu returned to the cabin, and after thinking about it, he still called everyone from the Yenlu group together, as Zhang Yi said. Everyone's face was full of anxiety, fearing that they would be the next person to be killed. Someone immediately asked Li Zhongyu a question. "Teacher Li, was there a massacre down there? Why did so many people die? I can still smell the blood now. It's too scary. I won't be able to sleep peacefully at night in the future, thinking of so many dead souls under my feet." "Shut up. Don't say anything." Che Haicheng walked out, staring at Li Zhongyu and said, "Teacher Li, you found the person. Now that something like this has happened, shouldn't you give everyone an explanation?" Li Zhongyu explained, "I have asked Mr. Jeang, and the things below have nothing to do with them. It was because someone smuggled up that there was not enough food. That's why the violence occurred. Everyone has seen this kind of situation on Yenlu Island. Don't worry too much. Mr. Jeang promised me that he would take them to the other side successfully. Don't let your imagination run wild, and watch your mouth. Don't talk nonsense. If the people above hear it, it will cause a conflict, which will be bad for everyone." At this time, Bai Mo, who was pale, was wrapped in a blanket and questioned in a trembling voice. Of course he said that. But who can guarantee that what he said is true? Li Zhongyu listened to the nagging, questioning voice in his ear and took a deep breath. "We have no choice but to trust him now. Instead of adding to the trouble, it is better to believe first and then question." Chapter 860. Rock Flow Group Self-Rescue Plan. Li Zhongyu's speech did not dispel everyone's doubts, but it did dissipate some of their nervousness. Everyone returned to their rooms. As soon as Bai Mo returned to the room, he huddled on the bed, muttering to himself, "Liar, all liars. They will definitely kill us, they will." Xie Yunfan sat on the lower bunk of Bai Mo's bed, and the gold-rimmed glasses with a corner of the lens broken reflected a sinister light. "We must find a way to save ourselves. I don't want to live this kind of life." Li Zhongyu may have become an accomplice of Jeang. He has value to live for Jeang, but we don't. I won't pin my life on the kindness of others. Shut up. Che Haicheng suddenly cursed, staring at Xie Yunfan sternly. He walked over cautiously and took a look outside the door, then locked the door from the inside, and then walked over to sternly warn everyone. "If others hear this, you will kill all of us." Xie Yunfan realized that he was a little excited when he spoke, and did not refute. "Then what do you think we should do?" Che Haicheng lowered his voice and looked at everyone. Everyone here is a genius in their respective fields. I think as long as we work together, we will definitely be able to think of a way out. Now, please put aside all distractions and think about this problem carefully. His voice became even lower. Wait until the evening. We will talk again. At night, the lights in the middle cabin were turned off, and Aizaman checked that there was no monitoring equipment in the room.
It was the safest way to discuss in detail at this time.
Everyone also recognized Che Haicheng's experience and went back to silently think about how to contact the Columbia Ocean Fleet thousands of miles away in the vast ocean. Jeang, he didn't feel much about the death of so many people in the lower cabin.
On the
contrary, with fewer people, it would be easier to manage in the future. He would just take into account the feelings of his compatriots to a certain extent. At least from now on, he would provide everyone with living supplies. In fact, he had seen this chaos from the beginning. He knew everything that happened in the lower cabin better than anyone else. Zhang Yi did not intend to hold Lu Dehai, Ron Lei, Yu Gang and others who caused this chaos accountable. In one day, the lower cabin was almost cleaned. However, there were too many bloodstains to be completely removed. After scrubbing dozens of times, there was still a faint smell of blood and bloodstains. But for the survivors in the lower cabin, they felt that it was no longer dark and damp, but bright and warm. As for Zhu Yonk and Sun Wanxi, one was frightened and slurred, fainted several times, and was limp all over. The other was greatly shocked, and Zhang Yi grasped his weakness. From now on, I am afraid that he would not dare to play against Zhang Yi. This made Zhang Yi feel very good. Next, if there is no accident on the gene phone, it should be stable and then return to the Jiangnan region. Even if there are some small winds and waves on the way, it will not cause too much trouble. However, ideals are too full and reality is often extremely skinny. Zhang Yi believes that everyone who is still alive on the ship is well-fed and well-clothed. Especially the people of the Yenlu group, who have not suffered any grievances so far, and their food and warmth are guaranteed. They are much happier than those who are fighting in the lower cabin. So, everyone would stay there honestly, and there was no reason to think of confronting themselves. But human hearts are often unpredictable. Using absolutely rational thinking ability to analyze may not necessarily get the best answer. For example, people like Che Haicheng and Bai Mo. They asked the Columbia Navy for help at the beginning, but received no response. Zhang Yi took them on board, gave them food and a warm living environment, but they were always afraid and suspicious, and never believed in Zhang Yi. That night, there was a rare thunder outside, which was a sign of the coming blizzard. Except for the rooms of Zhang Yi and the crew, and the cabins where they worked, the lights in other places were basically off. On the side of the Yenlu group, Che Haicheng and others opened their eyes and climbed out of bed one by one. They came to Aizaman's bed, and the cautious Che Haicheng also picked up the sheets and blocked the gap in the cabin door to prevent anyone from eavesdropping. After the preparations were completed, a group of people gathered together and began to discuss the plan to escape from the gene phone. Everyone, after thinking for a day, I wonder if you have any ideas? Che Haicheng asked first. Aizaman crossed his arms and remained silent as before. He had mentioned the methods he could provide before, but the specific execution level was not something that a computer engineer like him could do. The pickpocket Rudolph said, if you want to obtain the communication equipment, the only way is to steal it from the crew. This is not a problem for me. I can definitely steal the communication equipment without letting them find it, but this is on the ship.
He
shrugged helplessly. I think he will soon find out that the communicator is missing, and I can't slip away as quickly as I did on the Champs-Élysées. Aizaman rubbed his fingers and said, if I want to use the communication equipment to contact Columbia's ocean fleet, I need at least half an hour to operate it. You have to buy me this time. Xia Yunfan pushed his glasses. In other words, we not only have to steal the communicator back, but also make sure that the other party can't find it within half an hour. Aizaman reminded him, and the communicator must be returned in time, and it must not attract their attention. Che Haicheng frowned. Then we need to think of a way to delay for more than 40 minutes, right? Aizaman nodded. In theory, that's right. Bai Mo shook his head. This is impossible. Our daily contact with those crew members is when we eat, and someone brings food to us. But they hardly stay here, and they're unwilling to have too much contact with us. After delivering the food, they will leave. Even if we steal the communicator, how to return it is another problem. A group of people frowned and thought hard. There is hope, but it does not mean that it is feasible in practice. Everyone knows that it is harder than climbing to the sky to make a crew member of the Jeang phone go down for 40 minutes. They are too cautious and do not have a good impression of the people of the Rock Flow group, especially these foreigners.
Boom.
A thunder blast broke through the night sky outside the window and fell from the sky to the sea, reflecting the cold and vast ocean, which is even more mysterious and terrifying. Che Haicheng suddenly raised his head and said to everyone seriously, "I have an idea." Chapter 861 Stealing the Communicator. Che Haicheng's words successfully focused everyone's attention on him. "Mr. Che, what's your idea?" Xie Yunfan asked anxiously. Rudolph also asked curiously, "Do you have a way to prevent them from discovering that the communicator was stolen within 40 minutes?" Che Haicheng smiled and said, "I have a way. Although it is a bit risky, it is worth a try. As the saying goes, wealth and honor come in danger." Bai Mo said, "Don't keep us in suspense. Tell us what you are going to do." Che Haicheng slowly said his idea. This matter also requires the help of another person. It was none other than Che Haicheng's wife, Jean Jimei. When Jean Jimei was mentioned, Rudolph and others showed a strange light in their eyes. The former member of the Scylla girl group can be said to be useless except for her beauty and coquettishness. When on Yenlu Island, Che Haicheng used her to exchange for a lot of daily necessities. It can even be said that when Che Haicheng went out to pee, he could meet 10 old customers who had traded with her. Kim Kimi is not a very smart woman. After marrying Cha Haesung, she has been living the life of a rich wife. Even in the end of the world, she has no personal opinion and always obeys Cha Haesung's orders. Whatever Cha Haesung asks her to do, she will listen to it except for letting her die. As for after getting on the ship, Kim Kimi also had some things with the people on the ship. Especially those crew members. They are all her patrons. Cha Haesung doesn't mind being cuckolded. As a shrewd Scylla politician, he has no sense of propriety and shame. As long as he can maximize his own interests, he will not blink an eye even if he lets all the men on the ship cuckold him. We can find a good opportunity. Lao Xie in the kitchen is a pervert. He and my wife have been having an affair for more than 1 or 2 days. When he comes to deliver food next time, I will let Kim Kimi seduce him. At that time, the task of delaying time will be done by her. And you must hurry up and complete our plan. Hearing that Cha Haesung is so dedicated, everyone was very moved. Rudolph even said, "Mr. Che, since you are so generous and have contributed your wife, why not let me?" Che Haicheng sneered, "As long as you work hard, I can let her accompany you." Rudolph was very happy. "Don't worry, this is just a small problem for me." Xie Yunfan asked a question. "This method is indeed very good, but the problem is, isn't 40 minutes too long? Is that cook okay?" Che Haicheng was full of confidence in this. "Don't forget, my wife is a professional. When we were still in Scylla, she was a well-known war god." Everyone couldn't help laughing.
I
am afraid no one else can be so proud to say that he was cuckolded. Che Haicheng didn't care at all, because that's how I met her at the beginning, so I know it very well. The so-called members of the girl group are just toys for some people. Che Haicheng married her to facilitate his career. Anyway, when she is old and ugly, he can get rid of her with a sum of money. Several people completed the division of tasks. Che Haicheng's wife, Jean Jimei, was responsible for seducing Xie Changming. Then the pickpocket Rudolph took the opportunity to steal his communication equipment. Then he gave it to Eisenman to operate and contact the Columbia Ocean Fleet. The others were responsible for keeping the news to avoid accidents. Once an unexpected situation occurred, they would pretend that Xie Changming accidentally dropped the communicator on the ground, and they would return it. Xie Changming's attention was on Jean Jimei at the time, and he might not notice this matter. However, if they failed this time, it might cause Xie Changming to be alert, and it would be extremely difficult to repeat the trick next time. Therefore, they did not have many opportunities, maybe only once. The climate on the sea suddenly began to get worse. Jeang and his team had been at sea for 2 or 3 months, and this was the first time they encountered such bad weather. The storm blew mercilessly on the sea, whirring like a monster. Waves surged one after another, and the waves rose and fell like mountains. The huge Jeang was like a small boat in the huge waves, as if it would be overturned at any time. Many people on the ship were terrified, and some people had begun to pray to God. In Young's room, Tommy was crying loudly. He was so frightened that he couldn't stop crying. Young and Soon Wonshi held onto the bed legs tightly to prevent themselves from being thrown out. When they heard the annoying crying, their eyes were no longer as kind as usual. Instead, they stared at the crying baby with disgust. "It's really annoying," Young said secretly in her heart. "I shouldn't have brought you on board." There was one thing she didn't dare to mention, that was... Several times, she even had the urge to throw him into the sea. Jeang was a little uncomfortable. Although he was not seasick, such violent shaking made him feel a little uneasy. Fortunately, the furniture and other things in the cabin were fixed, so there was no need to worry about hurting anyone. "Kur, you stay here first, I'll go to the control room to take a look." Jeang was a little worried. For some reason, he always had a subtle premonition in his heart. In the depths of the sea, there must be something hidden, secretly spying on the Jeang and spying on him. Jeang could not forget the look in the fin dragon's eyes before he was seriously injured. It was like a resentful human. So on the way back, he went to the control room every day to check and ordered the crew to pay attention to the sonar and radar. If they found anything unusual, they must report it to him as soon as possible. Jeang shuttled through space and came to the control room in an instant. The situation here was slightly better. The crew had seen this kind of strong wind and waves many times. There was not much fear on their faces, and they were even in the mood to chat there. After all, judging from the tonnage and quality of the Jeang, this level of storm can be fully withstood. For Jeang, looking at the vast and terrifying scene outside through the window glass, the shock in his heart is indescribable. Will the boat not capsize? Jeang couldn't help asking this question. The boat suddenly became quiet, and all the crew members looked at him with strange eyes. Lao Tian came over and said to Jeang, "Mr. Jeang, you can't say that word on the boat, it's too unlucky." "Which word?" Lao Tian said, "Aphoan." Jeang smiled. "There is still such a taboo." Lao Tian said, "Don't worry, we are here, and we have this world-class Jeang. We will not be afraid of this level of wind and waves." Jeang nodded. This is the advantage of having an old sailor, knowing how to deal with it when encountering danger. But suddenly, a long and distant cry suddenly came to Zhang's ears. The sound was very strange, distant and long, and the sound was muffled, as if it came across endless years, but it gave people goosebumps all over their bodies. Zhang's brows suddenly furrowed like a sharp sword, filled with murderous intent. "That guy is coming. I knew it was there." At the same time, the sonar operator also issued a warning to Jeang. "Mr. Jeang, it appears, the sea monster appears. A huge object is rapidly approaching us from the depths of the seabed." Chapter 862. Fin Dragon Attack. The Fin Dragon is coming. It's finally here. Jeang has been waiting for it for more than half a month, and he knew that there would be such a day. The overlord of the sea will not tolerate being injured without fighting back. Because the world of the ocean itself is the law of the jungle, which is more cruel than the human world. Zhang's eyes slowly opened, and he was prepared for the arrival of this day. The Jeang shook violently. The surrounding sea water began to surge, and the waves were more than 10 meters higher than the hull. Looking around, there was a circular wave around that surrounded the entire Jeang. "It's bad. The hull is out of control," a crew member suddenly shouted. The Jeang shook violently and was difficult to control. It was played around by the waves like a small boat. This was an experience they had never had since they went to sea, and everyone was a little uneasy. Jeang Yi was not in a hurry at this time, and he had already skillfully put on the captain-level combat uniform specially made for him by Deng's technology. In order to go to sea this time, the function of compressed oxygen was added so that even if he accidentally fell into the ocean, he would not be drowned. However, such a situation should be avoided as much as possible. After all, the ocean is not Jeang Yi's home ground. That thing is making trouble down there. Don't panic, I'll deal with it. You keep the boat steady. Jeang Yi's power was added to the entire Jean foam, allowing it to begin to leave the water and not be affected by the waves and storms. Soon the Jean foam was suspended in the air and stabilized. Jeang Yi flew into the air, looking down at everything under his feet. From a high altitude, the scene in front of him was indeed extremely shocking. The huge body of the fin dragon is more than 100 meters long. It showed a long body in the dark and deep sea water, with hundreds of sharp and rough black dorsal fins on its back cutting through the waves and swimming quickly in the water. It was it that created the huge vortex that affected the operation of the Jean foam. But this time, it did not take the initiative to attack the Jean foam. Perhaps the last experience taught it a lesson, making it realize that it was not safe to attack the hull directly. Therefore, using the power of the ocean to overturn the ship is its best choice. Jeang Yi looked down at it from a high position. It also felt the amazing pressure and looked up at the sky. Its huge eyes were ice blue, and its eyeballs were much larger than Jeang Yi's. Looking at the tiny human in front of it, in addition to deep hatred, there was also strong fear in its eyes. If it hadn't been for the sea as a cover during the first fight, it might have been cut into 2 pieces by Jeang Yi with a single knife despite being seriously injured. But this time, it was obviously healed from its wounds.
Squeak.
It suddenly opened its mouth and let out a sharp roar, and then the huge tentacles suddenly shot out a purple-white beam of light, shooting at Jeang Yi in the air. The ability of Time Echo allowed Jeang Yi to predict the trajectory of its attack in advance. So before it made a move, Jeang Yi dodged the attack by dodging it in the air. It's my turn. He pulled out the Holy Judgment with his right hand, and the black void fire spread over the blade. The fin dragon understood the power of this force and quickly sank into the deep sea with a flick of its tail, escaping very quickly. But it did not escape, but used the seawater to hide its body to prevent Jeang Yi from attacking it. A moment later, a huge wave broke out under the Jean foam. The surging seawater rushed towards the Jean foam. This wave was very terrifying. There were thousands of tons of seawater falling down, which would definitely cause great damage to the Jean foam. Jeang Yi's eyes condensed, and he came to the Jean foam in an instant. The 2 worlds are separated. The spherical defense formed by the twisting of 2-dimensional doors instantly wrapped the entire Jean foam. The huge waves all entered Jeang Yi's alien space. What a cunning guy, knowing that you can't do anything to me, so you choose to attack the people on the ship. Jeang Yi realized that this fin dragon has a very high intelligence. It knows how to use its advantages to fight Jeang Yi. Jeang Yi sneered, but didn't care at all. How much seawater was absorbed was soon discharged from the alien space. He gave Lao Tian an order to counterattack. Lao Tian, release depth charges. When he came, he prepared a lot of weapons and equipment. Especially for the situation that may arise at this time, he certainly would not neglect it. After Lao Tian received Jeang Yi's order, he immediately loudly arranged his crew members. Go to the deck. Drop depth charges. The crew members showed superb combat literacy. They were ready long ago, and when Lao Tian gave the order, they immediately rushed to the deck. The Jean foam has no launch port, so it uses a drop-type depth charge. This weapon was originally developed to deal with submarines hidden on the seabed. But it is also very useful against this giant sea monster. Again, thermal weapons are not useless in a world where aliens and beasts are rampant. As long as the equivalent is sufficient, big enough. One after another, depth charges were dropped into the deep sea. Jeang Yi attracted the attention of the fin dragon in midair. So the fin dragon did not notice the bombs that were as big as beans compared to its size. But after dozens of depth charges were dropped at the depth where the fin dragon was, a violent explosion immediately occurred.
Boom. Boom.
Boom. The dull and violent explosion sounded in the depths of the ocean, and the violent shock wave destroyed the long body of the fin dragon. Its body was too huge, so it could not avoid the impact of the explosion at all. Soon, its body, which was comparable to steel, had scars one after another. The fin dragon itself might not have thought that this civilian ship that seemed to have no weapons and equipment could actually exert the power of a warship.
Squeak.
It screamed sharply in pain. A white-purple beam of light shot up from the sea and directly reached a height of thousands of meters. Then, like a big sword, it quickly slashed down towards the Jeang. Jeang floated in front of the Jeang, opened his right hand, and the dimension gate appeared an invisible wave, completely absorbing the power of the atomic breath. Through this attack, Jeang could feel the approximate level of the fin dragon's power. Converted into the supernatural power index of the alien, it is about 9,200 points. But this level cannot threaten Jeang. However, because of the terrain advantage of the sea, it can even entangle with Jeang, who has a supernatural power index of 9,600 points. Jeang can't kill it. But it can't kill Jeang either, so it can only attack the Jeang to complete its revenge. Seawater can weaken the impact. Whether it is divine power or void attack, it will be weakened too much by millions of tons of seawater. If you want to kill it, ordinary means are still difficult to do. Jeang frowned slightly. The sea is not his main battlefield, which is very helpless. Chapter 8, 63:40 minutes. The fin dragon's wave of attacks did not cause any trouble to the Jeang. Instead, it was attacked by depth charges and suffered serious injuries. In addition, its ability, atomic breath, was completely restrained by Jeang, and it realized that it would be fruitless to continue fighting. So it dived into the deep seabed again, and soon the huge and terrifying shadow under the Jeang ship disappeared. Jeang spread his hands. This is fair. His strength at sea will be limited. However, once the fin dragon comes ashore, this creature will be useless no matter how strong it is. Unless it has the ability to move in solid media like Canute's ability, Blue Shark. You're lucky. If I came here in a warship this time, I would definitely kill you. After all, the Jeang is just a civilian ship, and its attack and defense capabilities are far inferior to those of warships. Otherwise, with the current level of Huashu's warships, using more powerful high-speed torpedoes, even this powerful monster can only escape. The fin dragon is very cunning. It will come and fight when it finds an opportunity. Once it finds that the situation is not good, it will escape at the first time. It also knew that the little man in the air could not go deep into the sea to fight it. Jeang returned to the Jeang, and the matter was temporarily over. However, he reminded Lao Tian and other crew members again that they must be on high alert. This sea monster has a strong desire for revenge, and it is unknown when it will attack again. Lao Tian said yes again and again. The attack just experienced seemed to be solved by Jeang lightly, but for the other people on the ship, it was no less than a magnitude 10 earthquake. That kind of giant sea beast can easily destroy a 10,000-ton ship and bury them in the sea. After the fin dragon escaped, Jeang put the ship back on the sea. The blizzard continued, and the wind and waves were very strong. It was only after it was not affected by the vortex that the ship could be controlled. But it was temporarily impossible to move forward. The anchor had been dropped, and it had to wait until the blizzard was over before it could set off. In this way, the Jeang was still shaking, and Jeang sat on the chair in the control room, not in a hurry to leave. He also needed to be on guard against the sudden return of the fin dragon. On the Jeang, due to the lack of vision, many people did not know what had happened. This is a great pity for some people, because if they knew the power Jeang possessed, they would not have some ridiculous ideas. After a day and a night, the blizzard slowly stopped. A thick layer of snow accumulated on the Jeang, and fragments of ice and snow were scattered on the sea, and large pieces of floating ice were floating in the sea. Jeang was a little sleepy after watching in the control room for a day. He said to Lao Tian, "Arrange someone to clean it up, and then we can go on the road." I will go back and rest for a while. I sleep lightly. If you encounter fin dragons or other problems, wake me up directly. Yes, Mr. Jeang, Lao Tian said. Zhang Yi yawned and went back to the room to rest. Lao Tian immediately ordered someone to call a few people from the lower cabin to clean the snow on the ship. Soon, the Jean foam weighed anchor and continued to sail. Chef Lao Xia came to the kitchen and began to prepare meals. It was supposed to be lunch, but today it was not served until after 3 o'clock in the afternoon. As usual, he pushed the dining cart and delivered the food of the Rockflow group to the door of the cabin, then looked at the cabin door and called people to come and eat. Cha Haesung walked out of the room, and his wife Jean Jimei walked out of the opposite room, and Cha Haesung gave her a look. Jean Jimei immediately understood and walked towards Xia Changming with a charming step. Xia Changming originally planned to leave after delivering the meal, but when he saw Jean Jimei's pitiful and charming face, he immediately changed his mind. Appa, Serengio. Jean Jimei came to Xia Changming, and the other people who received the meal left quickly and looked at them with ambiguous eyes when they left. Then he looked at Cha Haesung with a playful look. Jean Jimei hugged Xia Changming's arm and said pitifully, Appa, I want to eat some good things to replenish myself recently. Can you help me? Xia Changming smiled, not caring that there were people watching here, and his hands moved around on her body. Want to eat delicious food, right? That's easy. Appa will satisfy you today. He pulled Jean Jimei and hurried to the bathroom. There was no surveillance in the bathroom, and he didn't want his colleagues to see his live broadcast. Xia Changming's face was hot. Jean Jimei was worthy of being the former ace member of the girl group. She was very good at seducing men. Xia Changming's attention was all attracted by her. He didn't even notice the bearded Rudolph at the door when he passed by Che Haiching's cabin. As a first-class pickpocket, it was too easy for him to steal a communicator. In addition, he can also perfectly use the blind spots of vision to avoid being discovered by the surveillance. The two of them just turned sideways, and if you look at it from the surveillance, you can't find anything unusual about him. After a brief brush, Rudolph had already stuffed the communication device on Xia Changming's body into his pocket. Then he quickly turned and entered the cabin. Cha Haichun closed the door, and then Rudolph handed the communication equipment to Eisenman, who was already ready. It must be done as soon as possible. Otherwise, we don't know what will happen, Cha Haichun reminded. Eisenman took the communication equipment, and his expression immediately became extremely focused. He did not talk to Cha Haichun, but turned on the communication equipment. As he expected, a password is required to unlock it, but this is not a problem for a top engineer of the Fruit Group. The copy has been edited long ago. It was done by Cha Haichun himself. This Scylla official knows how to use the power of words very well. He described the matter in a very exaggerated way, and he must catch the heart of the person in charge of the Columbia Ocean Fleet at once. Only in this way will the other party send troops to take them away. Time passed by minute, and the person in charge of wind protection carefully lay by the wall, listening carefully to the movements nearby. In the bathroom, Jean Jimei also used what she had learned in her life to try her best to delay Xia Changming. For the others on the ship, this day was just a very ordinary day in the sailing process. But for them, it was extremely tense and exciting, with unstoppable expectations and fear every minute and every second. They dared not imagine the cost of this failure. After all, Zhang Yi gave them the impression that he was not a good person to talk to. Eisenman began to crack the communicator with a focused look. The first step was not difficult for him. However, next he had to find a way to contact the Columbia fleet. Fortunately, in 2051, technology had already reached the level of global communication. Both the Nebula satellite system of Huashu Country and the Star Alliance system of Columbia could do this. After nearly half an hour of tossing, Eisenman finally solved the problem of the signal channel. Quick, send the distress letters. Although Eisenman was shocked on the surface, he was actually sweating profusely and almost exhausted. He hurriedly handed the communicator to Che Haiching and asked him to complete the last step. Chapter 864 Signal. Che Haiching took the communicator and swallowed his saliva involuntarily. His hands were still shaking. But time waits for no one. He quickly input the prepared copy. The last step is to click send. Because he was too nervous, Che Haicheng's finger on the screen shifted several times. Finally, Xia Yunfan couldn't stand it anymore and helped him press the send button. Gulp. Several people swallowed their saliva at the same time, and the heavy stone in their hearts finally let go a little. But the good times didn't last long. They found that the screen began to spin in circles. Che Haicheng panicked and asked Aizaman, "Mr. Aizaman, what's going on?" Aizaman took a look and said helplessly, "This is at sea, and we are just using an ordinary personal communication device. It is normal for the signal to transmit slowly." Che Haicheng asked nervously, "Will the transmission fail?" Aizaman was silent for a moment and shook his head. Several people relaxed, thinking that things were foolproof. Aizaman didn't want to dampen their emotions, but this matter couldn't be concealed. "I mean, I don't know either." Che Haicheng and his men were in a state of panic again. Every minute and every second, they were scared to death. Fortunately, in the end, the circle finally completed in their wide-eyed gazes. The green check mark indicated that the message had been successfully sent out. Aizaman also let out a long breath. Now it depends on whether it works. If they believe what we said, they may send a ship to take us away. He looked out the window. As long as we don't enter the domestic sea of Huashu, the Colombian fleet will definitely find us and take us back. As a citizen of Colombia, he was extremely confident about this. Others didn't have time to listen to his sighs. "Hurry up and clear all the information. Don't leave any traces," Che Haicheng hurriedly said to him. Aizaman picked up the phone and performed some clearing operations. At this time, Jean Jime in the bathroom was almost unable to hold on. It's not that she didn't work hard, but it was really that Lao Xie's ability was indeed a bit lame. Aizen and others cleared the operation traces on the communicator and handed it over to Rudolph. Rudolph came outside cautiously with the communicator in his pocket and then coughed twice very hard. After receiving his signal, Jean Jime felt relieved. 2 minutes later, Xia Changming walked out of the bathroom while putting on his clothes and Jean Jime, who was wiping her mouth with a handkerchief. Rudolph pretended to go to the bathroom and hurried over with one hand covering his stomach. Then, he quietly stuffed the communicator back into Xia Changming's body. Professional pickpockets are so skilled in stealing that it is outrageous. Xia Changming's communicator was stuffed into his trouser pocket. His trousers were not loose, and he could usually feel it if the communicator was taken away. But Rudolph naturally had his own way to do it without anyone noticing. Xia Changming was very satisfied with Jean Jime's service today and left the middle cabin contentedly. He had no idea what Che Haicheng and others had done today. Jeang, he had just finished a night of surveillance and was sleeping soundly in the room. The message quickly reached the Columbia Ocean Fleet on the Ropefly Island via satellite. Reconnaissance Department. The soldiers who received the communication signal took a casual look as usual. Recently, the intelligence they can receive has become less and less. Seeing that it was this kind of private intelligence, they were too lazy to look at it in the past. Because there is no need to guess, it is 100% a signal for help. But now there are fewer and fewer survivors, or perhaps they have lost hope and no longer ask for help from the Navy. Perhaps it was a coincidence that the soldiers on duty today glanced at the content of the message. This look made him discover something different. The stone with magical power can give people extremely powerful power. Huashu country even sent a large number of soldiers to sea for this. This distress signal is very different. In the past, all kinds of messages were either begging or cursing in despair or saying that they could donate all their wealth. And few people would make such a description of an alien. As a professional soldier, although he thought this statement was funny, he still thought it was different and read it carefully again. Out of professional sensitivity, although he didn't know whether what the other party said was true or false, he still reported the information to his superior. As a soldier, he certainly didn't know the existence of such a thing as Source of God. Well, in their upper echelons, the name of this thing is literally translated as Holy Origin Material or Human Completion Project Source Material. After the news was passed to the superior, it quickly attracted the attention of the chief of the reconnaissance department, Bam Hylason. Because, as the head of the intelligence department, he certainly knew that this sacred substance existed. And one of his main tasks was to search for information about this substance, the magical yellow stone. Hwashu country sent a large number of soldiers to get it. Very suspicious. Very suspicious. Suddenly, Hylason thought of something. About 3 months ago, there was an icebreaker from Hwashu country sailing to the southeast of the ocean. At first, they thought it was very strange, but after judgment, it was just a civilian icebreaker, so they didn't pay special attention to it. But combined with this letter for help, it suddenly gave people an unusual feeling. Hylason didn't dare to delay. Out of caution, he reported the matter to Douglas, the commander of the ocean fleet, as soon as possible. The message from the reconnaissance department has a very high priority, and soon this intelligence was delivered to Douglas's desk. After reading the intelligence, Douglas took 2 puffs of his pipe and immediately summoned Hylason to his office. Hylason, what is the source of this information? As soon as the two met, Douglas asked straight to the point. Hylason replied, "It comes from the sea, and the message is sent by an ordinary private communicator." Douglas frowned slightly. This is not the first time he has encountered this situation. Due to the importance of the holy essence, the Navy once issued an order that anyone who discovered this substance would be given a very high reward. So, in order to get the reward, various departments would often send back various news about it. But after verification, most of them were useless information. People in some small places have never seen an alien, and even if they find someone has mutated, they will regard it as the effect of the holy essence. Okay, I get it, you can go out. After Douglas asked Harrison to go back, he thought about it and handed the information to his assistant. Give it to Major Cryan Connor of the Copernicus. His ship is responsible for patrolling that area. Let him go over and check it out. Chapter 865 Columbia Navy. After the Fin Dragon was scared away by Jeang Yi, the Jean foam continued to move towards Tianhai City in Hwashu country. The next morning, when he was having dinner, Jeang Yi saw Zhu Young holding the child and coming to Zhou Qi with a haggard face. Compared with when she just went out to sea, she was much more haggard at this time, like an eggplant hit by frost, and the arrogance and confidence on her face were gone. Especially after experiencing the massacre in the lower cabin, it can be said that she has completely lost the qualifications to be arrogant. Now she is also scared when she sees Jeang Yi. Jeang Yi was very curious about what she came here for, so he walked towards the two of them. When Zhu Young saw Jeang Yi, his face suddenly changed, and he said to Zhou Qi, "I'm going back first. You can give me an answer later." Then he hurried back to his room and closed the door tightly from the inside. Jeang Yi's eyes were playful, thinking that this woman must have been in trouble again. He wanted to ask him for help, but he was embarrassed to speak, so he had to settle for the next best thing and appealed to Zhou Qi. He walked to Zhou Qi's side and asked with a smile, "What is she doing here?" Zhou Qi smiled. She hugged Jeang Yi's arm with her white hands and smiled gently. "What else can I do?" Because of the child. At first she was very excited and wanted to learn how to be a mother and take care of the child, but it hasn't been long since she was almost driven crazy by the baby. This is still two people taking care of it together. If she was alone, I'm afraid she would have collapsed long ago. Jeang Yi smiled faintly. She chose it herself. Why bother her? I told you not to interfere with her mess. Let her swallow the bitter fruit of her own choice. Zhou Qi smiled and nodded. Don't worry. I won't agree to anything without your nod of permission. Feeling Zhou Qi's soft and elastic body, Jeang Yi's heart moved, and he leaned close to her neck and whispered, "Remember the bet we made before? Now I won." Zhou Qi's face suddenly flushed. That bet. The content really scared her, but there was also a hint of expectation. She had never tried that before. You have to accept the defeat. I'll just agree to it. She glanced at Jeang Yi charmingly, then took Jeang Yi's hand and walked into the bedroom. That afternoon, the Jean foam cut through the water on the calm ice sea and sailed quickly along the way back. Lao Tian sat in the control room, smoking and chatting with the crew. The voyage was halfway through. When they came here, they cleared a lot of troubles on the road, including pirates and the navies of some small countries. so the problems on the return trip will be much less. However, Jeang Yi asked everyone to be vigilant. Because they didn't bring anything when they came, they didn't have to worry even if they encountered the navies of some big countries. But on the return trip, there was very important information on the ship. It couldn't be lost. But people always get what they fear. Just when Lao Tian and the crew were telling dirty jokes to relieve boredom, suddenly, the radio of the Jeang phone received a rhythmic warning. The meaning obtained through machine translation is, "Attention to the suspicious ships ahead. We are the Columbia Navy and are about to board and inspect your ship. Please stop immediately and cooperate with us. I warn you, don't try to resist or escape. Otherwise, we will attack directly." The sudden warning put all the crew members on alert at once. Lao Tian jumped up from his chair and ran to the control console. The other party repeated this sentence. Lao Tian's pupils shrank. The Columbia Navy. This is bad. When sailing on the sea, the most feared thing is to encounter them. Lao Tian himself had no idea, so he hurried to inform Jeang Yi. Jeang Yi's expression became solemn after hearing the news. The Columbia Navy is an existence he is unwilling to contact now. Even now, Jeang Yi is already a top alien. But meeting those guys on the sea will still bring great pressure to Jeang Yi. Before leaving, Zhu Zheng once reminded Jeang Yi in particular. The most important thing to pay attention to is the Columbia Ocean Fleet. Because this fleet is the trump card of the Columbia Navy. It even has the strength to compete with the strongest navy of Huaxi State, the East China Sea region. Among the 6 regions of Huaxi State, if we only talk about military strength, the East China Sea region may be second only to the Xinjiang region. This shows how powerful the Columbia Navy Ocean Fleet is. Not only do they have a variety of world-class ships, but they also have many powerful aliens. They are the ones Jeang Yi least wants to meet. What's the situation? Did they say why they came? Jeang Yi changed his clothes while communicating with Lao Tian at a very fast speed. The appearance of the Columbia Navy is particularly abnormal. They were not intercepted when they came, so why were they intercepted on the return trip? The Jeang Feng is nominally just a civilian ship. Easy interception and inspection can easily cause unnecessary disputes with Huaxi State. The larger the power, the more cautious it should be. Jeang Yi even suspected that they had received some news. Lao Tian replied, "They just said that we are a suspicious ship and need routine inspection." Routine inspection? Jeang Yi narrowed his eyes. This is still in the high seas, so where is the routine inspection? How far is the other party from us? According to the radar, there's still more than 20 nautical miles. Don't make any moves. Stop moving forward, as they said.
Yes.
Jeang Yi changed his clothes and began to calculate secretly in his heart. Seeing Jeang Yi's serious look, Zhou Ke couldn't help asking what happened. We met the Columbia Navy. This time there may be more trouble. Them? Zhou Ke was also a little nervous. What are they here for? Jeang Yi did not tell Zhou Ke about the source of God. So until now, Jeang Yi didn't know what Jeang Yi's trip was for. She was still wondering if it was simply to rescue someone of noble status. Jeang Yi changed into combat uniform and kissed her on the face. He gave Zhou Ke a reassuring smile. Don't think too much, there won't be any danger. Even if a fight really broke out, he could just abandon the ship and take Zhou Ke away. But by then, he would have to abandon more than a dozen crew members. This was the only thing he would regret. As for Zhu Yonk and the others on the ship, Jeang Yi could only say that he could do nothing to help. Although Space Shuttle can quickly cross the 1,000-meter boundary, but after each use, there will still be a stagnation in the middle, rather than continuous movement. Therefore, he can only take one person with him at most. As a special person, his physical fitness is only equivalent to that of a well-trained soldier. Chapter 866. Pass the buck first. Jeang Yi put on his combat uniform and reached out to move the wardrobe. He reached out and groped the wall, then opened a dark room with ease. Go in for a while. This dark room is a special place on the Jeang Feng, originally prepared to deal with pirates. Jeang Yi specially asked Xinjiang to reinforce it. As long as you hide here, it will be difficult to be discovered and difficult to break through. Jeang Yi only cares about Zhou Ke's safety, So facing the upcoming crisis, he asked Zhou Kuer to hide inside. Zhang Yi, you have to be careful too. Zhou Kuer felt the change in the atmosphere and walked into the dark room without saying much, leaving him a trusting look. It won't be too long. I will solve everything soon, Zhang Yi said to her with a smile. After hiding Zhou Kuer, Zhang Yi chose to contact the Jiangnan regional headquarters as soon as possible. When encountering a big problem, of course you should seek advice from the leader, so that no matter what goes wrong, you will not be blamed anyway. But before that, he went to the next door and knocked on Zhu Yang's door. Although Zhu Yang's mission was more of a gilded one, it had no practical use. But she was Zhu Zheng's niece, and taking her with him to find Zhu Zheng would also help share the responsibility. The Columbia Navy ship was about to arrive. After Zhang Yi knocked on the door, he saw Zhu Yang, who looked haggard, and could hear Tommy crying inside. We are in trouble, and we must contact Zhu Shuai immediately, Zhang Yi said to Zhu Yang, and then said to Sun Wanqi, who was taking care of Tommy in the room, take the child out immediately and go to another room. Sun Wanqi heard this and argued, didn't you see that Tommy was crying so hard? Zhang Yi walked over and slapped her in the face.
Get out.
This made Sun Wanqi's face turn red. She was full of tears and was about to blame Zhang Yi. But when she met Zhang Yi's murderous eyes, she was instantly poured with a basin of cold water. She didn't dare to say a word, and hurriedly took Tommy out of the room as if she was escaping. Zhu Yang was a little unhappy, but she didn't dare to show it at this time.
She
just asked, what's the trouble? The Columbia Navy is coming to inspect our ship. Zhu Yang frowned immediately after hearing this. Although she was not very experienced, she knew that this mission was of great importance, especially that other countries could not get the information. Then the most important thing for us is to shut Li Zongyu's mouth. Zhang Yi sneered. Can you guarantee that he didn't tell other people the information during the 6 months on Yanlu Island? Everyone on the ship today must not make any mistakes. Otherwise, I can't afford such a huge risk. As he said, Zhang Yi pointed at her. Of course, after contacting Zhu Shuai later, you can take this responsibility in your own name. Zhu Yang's face froze. Why should I? She complained, but her body was still very honest and quickly took out the communication base station and skillfully contacted the Jiangnan district headquarters. Soon, Zhu Zheng's communicator was connected here, and Zhu Zheng's majestic and upright face appeared on the transparent blue screen. Skylark, what's wrong? Zhu Zheng crossed his hands on the table and asked in a dignified voice. Zhu Yang glanced at Zhang Yi next to him. Zhang Yi leaned his head over. Zhu Shuai, it's me. In just a moment, Zhu Yang discovered that her uncle actually had the skill of changing his face. When he saw Zhang Yi, the solemnity on his face suddenly melted like ice and snow meeting the sun, and instead his face was full of smiles, like a kind old man.
Zhang Yi.
What's wrong? What happened? Zhang Yi said, the worst situation happened. On the way back, we encountered an inspection by the Columbia Navy. Zhu Zheng heard this, and his eyes became sharp. He crossed his hands under his chin. The Columbia Navy? I don't want to encounter them the most. What's the current situation? Tell me in detail. Zhang Yi said briefly. Their ship has issued a warning to us, and will be approaching soon. The specific reason is not clear yet, and I can't judge whether they are just doing a general inspection or have discovered our mission. What should we do next? Please instruct the leader. Zhang Yi is very smart. According to his character, he would kill someone accidentally. If he killed the Columbia Navy and the ship sank, it would definitely be a major accident. Who will be held responsible when the time comes. So now he threw the problem to Zhu Zheng. Anyway, I will do whatever you tell me to do. The most taboo thing for subordinates is to encounter problems that you can't make up your mind about and act based on guessing the leader's intentions. Explaining things clearly will not only not show that you have no opinion, but also make the leader think that you are cautious. In short, just pass the buck. In the workplace, the most important thing is to protect yourself first. Zhu Zheng also fell silent. Now the situation is unclear, and no one knows how to deal with it best. The most important thing at the moment is to find out their purpose, and to ensure that the information about that thing will not be leaked. Jeang said deeply. Jeang Yi nodded. You are right, I think so too. But in case of a conflict, or I find that the mission is at risk of being exposed, can I do it at that time? For example, destroy them? The smile on Jeang Yi's mouth became more intense.
This is what he cares about most.
If the Columbia Navy's warships are really destroyed, unless there is the power of the region to back him up. Otherwise, Jeang Yi will not ask for bad luck. To put it bluntly, if no one helps him to back up, even if he hands over the information about the source of God, he will not be stupid enough to fight against the entire Columbia Navy ocean fleet alone in the ocean. That is equivalent to seeking death. Zhang's eyes became deep. He said without any hesitation, no, the information about that thing is top secret, which concerns the interests of our entire Jiangnan region and even the entire Huashu country. Jeang Yi, you must ensure that the information will not be leaked, no matter what means are used, understand? Jeang Yi narrowed his eyes. No matter what means are used, that is to say, at all costs. I can do anything, right? He glanced at Jeang vaguely. In other words, it doesn't matter if we abandon the ship and leave at that time? Of course, in order to ensure the absolute safety of the information. Before leaving, he will kill everyone on the entire ship. Yes, at all costs. Even if it means going to war with the Colombian Navy. Jeang was very determined about this. Don't worry if something goes wrong. We will have someone to help you. And I will communicate with the East China Sea region and let their people contain the Colombian Navy fleet. And you must bring back the information about that thing. At this time, if there is no way to eat the information about the source of God alone, Jeang would rather share it with the East China Sea region. After all, that is better than leaking the news to Colombia. With your words, I know what to do. Well, do it boldly. Remember, there is a strong motherland behind you. Jeang Yi raised his right hand to his temple. Loyalty. After ending the call, he put his hand down. He had recorded the conversation just now with the video equipment on his combat uniform, in order to avoid Lao Zhu from blaming him if something goes wrong. Chapter 867. Prepare for battle. After reporting to Jeang, Jeang Yi knew what to do. He turned and left. Jeang quickly grabbed his sleeve. Jeang Yi, what should we do next? Is there anything I can help with? Jeang Yi looked back at her. You don't come to make trouble. It's the greatest help to me. Jeang's face froze, and she let go of her hand silently in shame. But it's hard to say about this matter. Jeang Yi suddenly said, if there is a special situation, I do need your help. But for you, the sacrifice may be a little bigger. Are you willing? Jeang thought about it. Along the way, she really didn't do too many useful things. Sacrifice or something, with Jeang Yi around, it's impossible for her to really get into trouble. After all, she is Zhang's niece. So she nodded. Well, I am willing.
Jeang Yi
showed a meaningful smile at the corner of his mouth. She probably didn't know that such a sacrifice meant that she would become a discarded child and be silenced by Jeang Yi. Anyway, I will try my best to avoid this situation. Jeang Yi smiled slightly and then disappeared directly on the spot. The next moment, he appeared in the middle cabin. There were people in the aisle, and they were startled to see Jeang Yi suddenly appear. Jeang Yi ignored their surprised eyes and went directly to the room where Li Zhongyu was, then pushed the door and walked in. Li Zhongyu, come with me. Jeang Yi ignored everyone's surprised eyes, took Li Zhongyu's arm and led him out of the room. When the two of them got outside, Jeang Yi said straight to the point, now you have to tell me everything about the Yellowstone. Because now we are in big trouble. I must ensure that the information will not be leaked. Li Zhongyu quickly understood what happened through Jeang Yi's explanation. His face was full of surprise and worry, but after a moment, he nodded and said, I understand. I will tell you everything I know. At this point, he had no choice but to believe Jeang Yi. That stone, I found it in a place called Fog Valley in Qingdao. Li Zhongyu said everything about the mysterious Yellowstone. Fog Valley is located in the southeast of Qingdao country and is a valley covering a large area. Because the scene there is shrouded in fog and the terrain is dangerous, it has always been a popular place for adventure enthusiasts to explore. Lee Zongyu took his girlfriend to camp before and accidentally discovered a mysterious yellow light source in the mountain stream deep in the foggy valley. At midnight, the projected light made the entire stream appear crystal clear yellow. Out of curiosity, he went deep into the valley and found a terrifying and deep crack below, as if it led to the ground. Because it was night at that time, he did not dare to go over to check. However, when he went to see it again the next day, everything from last night disappeared in an instant, and even the deep ravine seemed to have never appeared. Just when he thought everything was a dream, he saw a small piece of fluorescent stone emitting yellow light in the stream. At that time, Lee Zongyu did not know what this thing was used for. He just picked it up out of curiosity and put it in the box where he collected small gadgets. I didn't know at that time that it would have such a big effect. Otherwise, Lee Zongyu's face was full of regret. At that time, the end of the world had not yet arrived, so how could he know how powerful the source of God was? Just a small stone contaminated with energy awakened his supernatural powers. If he completely obtained the complete source of God, what level he would reach, no one could know. It was also the first time that Jeang heard someone describe the characteristics of the source of God in detail. Unfortunately, Lee Zongyu did not really see the appearance of the source of God clearly. Where did that thing come from? The only thing that can be confirmed is that it appeared underground. Since the end of the world, too many incredible things have happened in this world. The appearance of the source of God has even changed Zhang Yi's worldview. It even feels that the arrival of the end of the world is not an accident. Xingdao Wugu. Zhang Yi wrote down this place. You stay on the ship. You don't need to ask about other things. Zhang Yi asked Lee Zongyu to go back to the cabin. As for warning Lee Zongyu not to talk too much when the Columbia Navy appears, it is meaningless. There must be people on the ship who know about this. So Zhang Yi will not give them a chance. Or everyone leaves together.
Or,
Zhang Yi looked at Lee Zongyu's back and said silently in his heart, You will be buried in this endless icy ocean. Zhang Yi came to the control room. Lao Tian and other crew members were ready for battle. Everyone wore bulletproof vests and carried submachine guns. Seeing Zhang Yi coming, everyone immediately shouted, Mr. Zhang? How long will it take for the ship to arrive? About 3 minutes. Very good. You don't have to be too nervous, just your job. I will take care of this matter. Facing the Colombian warships, these Muggle soldiers can't play a big role. At this time, on the Copernicus warship, the captain is Lieutenant Colonel Crine Connor. After receiving the order from the headquarters, he immediately ordered the Copernicus to head towards the Jean Feng. Connor stood in the command room with his hands behind his back. Seeing that the Jean Feng had stopped, he nodded with satisfaction. It is indeed very suspicious that an icebreaker from Huaxiu is sailing alone on the sea. I can't imagine that the power of the people is enough to support such a long-distance sea voyage. They must have a problem. Get ready for battle. Connor's sense of smell is very sharp. Judging from experience, there must be something wrong with this ship. The torpedo compartment of the Copernicus has been opened. As long as they find something wrong, they will immediately launch high-speed torpedoes. In the sea, this weapon is very powerful, and it is difficult for manpower to compete. Even if there are aliens on the ship, once the ship is destroyed, it is likely to lose its combat effectiveness. Except for aliens with marine attributes. But even so, Connor did not let anyone open the cover of the missile launch bay. Because in his opinion, unless encountering a particularly powerful enemy, there is no need to waste precious missile resources. Now is different from the past. After the arrival of the Ice Age, even Colombia's military manufacturing industry has been greatly affected. The production speed of cutting-edge weapons and equipment is slow, and it is difficult to transport them across the ocean to Neon's Ropefly Island. Therefore, these things, one less piece, must be saved. Cullen, you take people on board for inspection, Connor said to a man in thick military uniform beside him. The man has a hooked nose, white blue eyes, and pale skin, which looks a bit creepy. He is Lieutenant Commander of the Navy, Barlock Cullen. Chapter 868 Rain Man. Connor was very cautious. In this era of great mutation, no one knows what kind of enemy they will encounter one day. So he just locked the gene foam with a torpedo from a distance, but did not let the Copernicus approach directly. Instead, he asked Barlot Kalim to board the ship for inspection. Yes, Captain. Jabana took the order and left. And Connor also asked the soldiers to warn the gene foam. Please pay attention to the ship in front. We are the Columbia Navy Ocean Fleet, and we will board your ship for inspection next. Please cooperate actively, and do not try to escape or resist. Otherwise, we have the right to attack your ship. Jeang frowned slightly after hearing the voice from the other party, and a sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth. Boarding inspection? Lao Tian said gloomily, Mr. Jeang, should we prepare to attack their ship? Forget it. With the little weapons and equipment we have, what can we do to fight Columbia's most advanced cruiser? Everyone has his own duties. You don't have to worry about anything. Just wait for my command. Zhang Yi turned and walked towards the deck. But after walking out of the cabin, he was suddenly surprised to find that the sky above his head had changed color. The gloomy clouds gradually changed from gray to completely gray, hovering and entangled in the sky above their heads. Drip, drip, drip. A sound that Zhang Yi was somewhat familiar with, but also somewhat unfamiliar, suddenly appeared in his ears. For a moment, Zhang Yi's thoughts were a little trance. He shouldn't be unfamiliar with the sound, but it was indeed too long since he heard it. Drip. Something suddenly fell on his shoulder. Zhang Yi looked down and found that it was a drop of rain. At this time, the temperature outside was -30 to 40 degrees Celsius. In this situation, it was raining, which made Zhang Yi almost think that he had hallucinations. But soon more and more rain really fell from the clouds and fell on the gene foam. Is it really raining? Zhang Yi was a little surprised, but he immediately realized that this was definitely not ordinary rain. But others didn't know. They had been suppressed on the ship for too long, and now they saw the rain that they hadn't seen for a long time, and they all ran out of the cabin happily to watch the excitement. People in the lower cabins could not get out, but the rock flow group had the freedom to move around during the day. So they rushed out. It's raining. It's really raining. That's great. Is the ice age over? Are we going to resume our old lives? Zhu Yonk and Sun Wanshi were also attracted by the rain. They leaned against the window, intoxicated. What a beautiful rain. Let's go out and take a look. Let's go together. The two women ran out hand in hand, smiling. At this time, the people on the deck cheered happily. However, this sound did not last long, and soon the crowd screamed. The rain fell on their heads, and a large area of their hair immediately became bald, and bursts of white smoke rose. The thick cotton clothes were also corroded with large holes. Their skin began to show hideous red spots. Everyone stopped cheering and rushed into the cabin. However, some people noticed the Columbia warship parked on the sea. Che Haicheng, Xia Yunfan, and others looked at each other, all with excitement in their eyes. Their plan succeeded. The Columbian warship really came to rescue them. Sun Wanshi and Zhu Yonk stood in front of the cabin door. Sun Wanshi looked at the distance curiously. Is that a Columbian warship? She actually said to Zhu Yonk with some joy, Look, the Columbian warship is so handsome. Zhu Yonk frowned and glanced at her coldly. I'm afraid they are not friendly. How could it be? Sun Wanshi tilted her head in confusion. Columbia is a country that loves to maintain peace. They must be here to protect us. Zhu Yonk took a deep breath helplessly, too lazy to pay attention to Sun Wanshi, but her eyes looked at the warship on the sea level uneasily. Everyone go back to the cabin. These are highly corrosive acid rain. Zhang Yi said to everyone lightly. In fact, the intelligence system of his combat suit has analyzed the composition of rainwater at the first time. If it didn't contain special ingredients, it would only be hail. But these would not cause any damage to his combat uniform. But the gene foam was not so lucky. The highly corrosive acid rain fell on the hull, causing the paint on the ship to begin to fade, and the corrosion scratches were as ugly as tears. The whole ship seemed to have been baptized by time and became gray. Zhang Yi stood on the deck and did not return to the cabin. His eyes. Zhang Yi looked forward. If you look from a high altitude at this time, you'll find that the acid rain only covers the area around the Jeang foam. The Copernicus did not approach. But someone has come. Zhang Yi is a top-level space-related alien. He is very sensitive to the fluctuations of space. Heavy rain continued to fall. On the deck in front of him, such a strange scene suddenly appeared. The rain stagnated in midair and slid to both sides as if encountering some obstacles. When you look closely, it slowly turned into a group of human-shaped existences. In the void, their appearance slowly appeared. They were 10 fully armed Colombian Navy. When Zhang Yi saw them, he subconsciously compared them with the Marleyan Navy that he had encountered before. Just from the weapons and equipment and the momentum of the soldiers, the Colombian Navy is more than 2 or 3 levels ahead of them. It can be said that they are covered with equipment and armed to the teeth. And the man standing in front of them gave people a cold and terrifying feeling. He was wearing a thick dark green raincoat, a black mask on his face, and his hands behind his back. Ability. Zhang Yi made a judgment at once. As a top-level alien who has been through many battles, instinct is enough to judge who is an alien and who is not. This acid rain seems to be his masterpiece. He observed the sea again. No ships were seen approaching, and the Copernicus was at least 5 nautical miles away. So, the opponent's ability may also include the ability to stealth. After seeing the Colombian Navy, Che Haicheng and others could no longer suppress their excitement. Bai Emo swallowed his saliva and wanted to go over for help immediately. Che Haicheng quickly grabbed him. Don't worry, let's see the situation first. If they make a mistake, won't they expose themselves directly? Zhang Yi will definitely not forgive them at that time. Bai Emo suppressed his excitement and stared at that side. Lao Tian and other crew members also came out with guns and looked at the soldiers coldly. But in the eyes of those soldiers, their actions were particularly funny. The gap in weapons and equipment is not a little bit. What's more, there is a top-notch cruiser Copernicus behind them. This is the ship of Huaxi State, and we are citizens of Huaxi State. It is wrong for you to intercept our ship on the high seas without authorization. Zhang Yi said nonsense in a bland manner. Some polite words are like this, even if they are useless, they have to be said. Before determining the other party's purpose, necessary communication is still indispensable. Kalim's voice came from under the raincoat. Are you the captain of this ship? Zhang Yi nodded. Yes, it's me. Kalim continued. We are the Colombian Navy. We have received intelligence that your ship has forcibly detained several citizens of our Colombia, and inhumane killings have also occurred. Therefore, we have to take you back to cooperate with the investigation. Chapter 869 Dilemma. As soon as Kalim finished speaking, Bai Mo and the others were overjoyed. They finally confirmed that these people were here to take them away. For more than half a month, they have been living in panic. They were afraid that Zhang Yi would kill them one day. Now, their savior has come. They believe that the Colombian Navy is invincible. As long as they show up, Zhang Yi must let them go. Bai Mo raised his hands and cheered. Oh my God. You are finally here. Praise God. Praise the great Colombian Navy. He covered his head with cloves, and regardless of the acid rain outside, he rushed towards the Navy excitedly. At this time, he just wanted to leave this place as soon as possible and then go back to his hometown to find the whereabouts of his wife and children. Seeing Bai Mo take action, several foreigners in the Rock Flow group also ran over there. They ran and cheered, just like Andy who escaped from Shawshank. They thought they had escaped from the dangerous cage and returned to the embrace of civilization. Che Haicheng raised his hands excitedly. Long live Colombia! Long live! When they passed by Zhang Yi, Lao Tian and others, in order to vent their emotions in recent days, they deliberately twisted their buttocks in a playful manner, with sarcasm on their faces. That expression clearly said, now we are protected by the Colombian Navy. You just get angry. Soon Wenxi was also very excited, and her eyes were rippling. Suddenly, she said to Zhu Yunque, Senior sister, I want to go with them. After all, I am also a Colombian citizen. I think I would rather go back to Colombia than go back with you. Zhu Yonk was really angry. Are you crazy? Are you so dull that you can't feel that they are here with bad intentions? Soon Wanshi sighed and looked at her resentfully. Senior, please stop being paranoid, okay? Colombia is a beautiful and free country. They won't force us to do anything. Anyway, I've had enough of this ship. That Jeang has always been very mean to me. I want to leave with them. Soon Wanshi said, as she was about to leave. But Zhu Yonk held her tightly. Idiot. Take a good look at the situation first. Soon Wanshi took a closer look and found that something was obviously wrong. The deck was tense. Lao Tian and other crew members had already opened the safety and could exchange fire at any time. Her face turned pale, and she quickly took 2 steps back.
She
decided to wait and see for a while. On the deck, Zhang Yi looked at Che Haicheng, Bai Mo, Xia Yunfan, and others, and there was indeed a look of surprise in his eyes. He only realized at this time that it was these guys who secretly contacted the Colombian Navy. But there were 2 points he couldn't understand. The first point was how they contacted the Colombian Navy when he had clearly asked people to confiscate all the communication equipment. The second point was also the most important point. Why did they contact the Colombian Navy? On the Jinfeng, Zhang Yi had always been very good to the people of the Rock Flow Group. They had never been short of food or heating. And he also learned from Li Zhongyu and others that the Colombian government would not rescue Colombians far away overseas. Bai Mo and his previous requests for help fell on deaf ears. Even so, they chose to betray Zhang Yi and chose to sell out Zhang Yi and throw themselves into the arms of the Colombian Navy. Zhang Yi was a rational person, and he could not analyze this matter logically. But soon he figured it out. There are still too many stupid people in this world, and there is no need to think about what is in the pig's head. In just a moment, Zhang Yi figured out a lot of things. The Colombian Navy could not come to rescue people for no reason, and there must be some conspiracy. And what allowed them to dispatch warships must be very important information. So, at this time, the information about the source of God may have been passed to the Colombian Navy by Che Haicheng and others, although they only heard some information from Li Zhongyu. But the top forces all attach great importance to the existence of the source of God. Therefore, even if they have not confirmed the authenticity of the information, they will send people to bring Bai Mo, Che Huanzing, and others back. The same reason. Zhang Yi, it is impossible for them to leave. Zhang Yi waved at Lao Tian and others. They understood and immediately stopped Che Haicheng and others who wanted to run over with guns. The faces of those people changed suddenly. What do you mean? I am a citizen of Colombia. You can't stop us from leaving. You are illegally detaining. Sir, save us and leave. We have suffered inhuman torture here. I demand protection. Several people were extremely emotional at this time, and they wanted to leave urgently. And relying on the appearance of the Colombian Navy, they were fearless and dared to roar at Zhang Yi. Even Che Haicheng, who had been kneeling in front of Zhang Yi like a dog and licking the soles of his shoes, had a domineering look on his face. Kaleem looked at Zhang Yi. These people are citizens of Colombia. We want. Take them away. His voice was full of arrogance. Moreover, your actions are very suspicious. We have to conduct a thorough inspection of the entire ship. From now on, your ship will be taken over by the Colombian Navy. No one should make any dangerous moves, otherwise it will be regarded as an attack on the Colombian Navy, and we will shoot you on the spot. Anyway, we have already boarded the ship for inspection, so there is no need to cover up this matter. Since you are pursuing excitement, then carry it out to the end, and just take the ship away. By the way, you can also let the people on the ship go to their army as laborers. Upon hearing this, Che Haicheng pointed at Zhang Yi and said loudly to Kaleem, Sir, I want to report that man. He is from the official Huashu country. He is a senior official. There is also a woman beside him, who is also a relative of the senior official of Huashu country. These people go to sea with ulterior motives, and they are hiding a very big secret. They must not be let go. They were fearless, thinking that facing the powerful Colombian Navy, Zhang Yi and his men had no choice but to surrender. Soon Wanshi couldn't stand it anymore. She stood up and said righteously, although he did some wrong things before, at least he took us away from the island. I think everyone should not dwell on past grudges. Those who are willing to go to Colombia can go to Colombia, and those who are willing to go to Huashu can go to Huashu. Isn't that great? Soon Wanshi looked at Kaleem. Sir, we, the citizens of Colombia, are willing to leave with you. Please don't make things difficult for the others on the ship. Thank you. Her innocent smile made many people look at her with a strange face. Kaleem glanced at her coldly, and then ignored her. Jeang Yi looked at the faces of Che Haicheng and others, and narrowed his eyes slightly. Now there are only two choices in front of him. First, kill everyone on the ship, and then take Zhou Qi away. Second, destroy the Colombian Navy in front of him. However, a great escape at sea. No matter which option you choose, it will bring huge negative effects.
If
you choose the first one, all the crew members including Zhu Yonk will die, so there may be some minor problems on Zhu Zheng's side. If you choose the second one, in this blue sea, in the high seas, completely breaking off with the Colombian Navy will lead to unimaginable revenge. Obviously, choosing the first one will be more convenient. But Jeang Yi didn't want to do this. He could not care about the life and death of others. But because of the oppression of the Colombian Navy, he turned to kill his own. The crew and compatriots will make Jeang Yi feel physically uncomfortable. Soon, Jeang Yi made his choice. He was thinking silently in his heart. The Copernicus has been aiming torpedoes at the Jeang. The distance between the two ships is 5 nautical miles. If space shuttle is used, it will take about 9 seconds. There are Colombian soldiers on the ship, so the other party may not launch a torpedo attack at the first time, but it is not ruled out that the other party is ruthless and does not care about the life and death of his men. First of all, in order to ensure the secrecy of the mission, the ship does not have advanced combat power other than him. In other words, it is not appropriate to abandon the few people in front of him and take down the Copernicus first. In that case, the people on the Jeang will be controlled by the Rain Man in front of him. Secondly, Jeang Yi cannot quickly kill the Colombian soldiers in front of him. Once the strength is exposed, the Copernicus will definitely launch a torpedo directly. This is a dilemma. However, time is not on Jeang Yi's side. Rain Man Barlak Kaleem has prepared for the resistance of Jeang Yi and others. He took a step back, and the whole person disappeared in the rain out of thin air. Chapter 870 Surrender. Che Haicheng and his men were still arrogantly provoking Jeang Yi and other crew members. They twisted their buttocks and scrupulously raised their middle fingers and laughed wildly, venting their anger in the past half-month. Even though Jeang Yi provided them with enough food so that they would not starve to death on Yenlu Island, they still hated Jeang Yi, because they felt that Jeang Yi and the crew were too arrogant to them, just like herdsmen raising livestock. A little kindness, a big grain of rice, is probably what it means. They will look forward to the beauty of their imagination in the distance. But they are picky about the people who give them benefits. But all this is no longer important. The moment Kaleem disappeared into the rain, Jeang Yi also made his decision. Wait a minute. I want to talk to your superior. What he wants, I can give him. Jeang Yi shouted loudly. As soon as Jeang Yi said this, Kaleem's figure appeared again. You figured it out, right? Jeang Yi took a deep breath. We're just an icebreaker. We can't be enemies with the Colombian Navy. Since we have no choice, we might as well confess and get better treatment, he said very frankly. Everyone on the ship showed a stunned expression on their faces. They might not have thought that Jeang Yi would surrender without resistance. Zhu Yonk looked at Jeang Yi, widened his eyes, and said angrily, Jeang Yi, how could you do this? Are you worthy of my uncles? Jeang Yi cursed in his heart. Damn woman. No sense at all. Fortunately, Kaleem had never heard of Jeang Yi's name. There was no surprise on the faces of Che Haicheng and others. They looked at each other triumphantly, and they all felt that the situation in front of them was within expectations. After all, who dared to go against the powerful Colombian Navy on the sea? That's right. A man of insight is a hero, Che Haicheng said with a big laugh. Xie Yunfan raised his glasses and teased, You are getting better and better. at using Chinese idioms. Che Haicheng glared. Nonsense. This is our 6,000-year-old traditional culture of Great Silla. What does it have to do with you? Jeang ignored Zhu Yang's cannibalistic eyes and said to Kaleem calmly, I won't resist in vain. You came here for that thing this time, right? I already have a lot of information in my hands, but I can't tell you directly. The intelligence has been leaked, so it's better to use it as bait. He said to Kaleem, I want to talk to your superiors about this matter in person. Everything that happened here naturally fell into the eyes of the captain of the Copernicus, Curlian Connor. Is he talking about the sacred essence? Curlian Connor's eyes showed a hint of eagerness. He thought about it and said to Kaleem through the communicator, You can agree to his request. Take down all his weapons and bring him here. In their eyes, the entire gene foam was just a big fish to be slaughtered, and they could cut it however they wanted. In addition, Jeang surrendered voluntarily and asked to offer valuable information about the source of God. Connor certainly couldn't resist this temptation. After all, once the information was obtained this time, he would have gained a huge military merit. After receiving the order, Kaleem asked Jeang to hand over all the weapons in his hands and follow them back to the Copernicus. Jeang was secretly careful in his heart, but he also put down the 2 pistols as they requested. 2 soldiers came forward and carefully examined Zhang body. After confirming that there was no problem, they handcuffed Zhang hands. Seeing this, Lao Tian and others naturally threw all the guns in their hands onto the deck. Seeing this scene, everyone on the ship had different expressions. Zhu Yang was angry and puzzled, and thought to herself, what kind of Jiangnan god of war is so useless? She was very disappointed, but for a while she lost her backbone. If her identity was exposed and taken away by the Columbia Navy, it would be a huge shame for the Jiangnan region. At that time, she would have no choice but to die. She could only hope that Zhang would not reveal her identity. The people in the Yenlu group had different expressions. Some were lost in thought, some looked worried, and some showed joy. After all, the entire Yenlu group was filled with all kinds of people, and everyone had different ideas. Che Haicheng and his friends were so proud that they laughed. Only Lao Tian and his friends looked calm. The reason why these people suspected Zhang was because they didn't know what kind of person Zhang was. After so long, how many people had been killed by Zhang using various means? He was a man who had no dignity of a strong man, and he was extremely ruthless. But he was also extremely vicious. If anyone really let down his guard against him, then the end would be, hee. Don't touch the people on my ship for the time being if you want to get information from me, Zhang said to Kaleem. Ku Lin snorted coldly. We are the Columbia Navy. The Columbia Navy is known as the strongest in the world, and they have strict military discipline, which is beyond doubt. Moreover, now they need to obtain information from Zhang so they will naturally not attack Lao Tian and others. At this moment, in order to save the lives of the entire ship and protect the information of the source of God, Zhang must take this step. Kaleem's powerful big hand grabbed Zhang arm, and he ordered several soldiers to stay on the ship to guard the others. He took Zhang back to the Copernicus. At this time, Zhang also discovered the magic of Kaleem's ability. When he moved, the rain was also moving with him, and he was able to shuttle by himself in the rain. No wonder Zhang didn't see any ships approaching, and Kaleem brought people to the gene foam. After Kaleem took Zhang away, the ship fell into a strange silence for a while. No one knew what would happen next. Only those few Columbia soldiers, holding guns in their hands, looked at everyone with indifference. Even the unconvinced attitude of Lao Tian and the sailors were directly ignored by them. Absolute strength gave them absolute confidence. This is the confidence of the world's #1 navy. Zhang followed Kaleem and quickly shuttled through the rain curtain and came to the Copernicus. This cruiser is very advanced, equipped with a variety of machine guns and even conventional missiles. On the sea, the destructive power it can cause is comparable to that of a top Delta-class alien. However, as a dead object, it still has defects after all. For example, its internal defense is not that strong. The threat of the Copernicus is the greatest. This is why Jeang made this choice. Thanks, viewers. I am trying to publish as much as I can. If you enjoyed the content, kindly like and comment. Please subscribe if not already. It helps me a lot.